Paris, 31st August 1997. Inside the Ritz Hotel on the Place Vendôme are Princess Diana and her lover, Dodi Fayed. Outside the hotel, a crowd of photographers is waiting for her. Knowing about the photographers outside, they try to slip out unseen through the service door on the Rue Cambon and climb into a black Mercedes. Behind the wheel is Henri Paul, the hotel's deputy head of security, and Trevor Rees-Jones, a bodyguard, in the front seat. Henri Paul pulls away fast, down towards the River Seine, trying to shake off the motorbikes already chasing them. He follows the road along the water. He takes the car down into a short underpass beneath a bridge. He is going at 65 miles an hour, about twice the speed limit. At the mouth of the tunnel, the Mercedes clips a small white car. It swerves left and hits the 13th pillar almost head-on. Dodi Fayed and Henri Paul die at the scene. Trevor Rees-Jones, the bodyguard, survives but sustains severe facial injuries. Princess Diana is taken alive to the hospital, but at 4 o'clock that morning she is declared dead. She is 36 years old. Here is what looks strange. 10 months before the crash, Princess Diana wrote this letter and gave it to her butler. "My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for him to marry Tiggy." At the news of her death, the world stops. The woman who gave her life to humanitarian causes is gone, and the people of the United Kingdom wait for the Queen to announce her death. But no, silence. So why would the British Crown stay silent about the death of a royal family member? And why did the people of the United Kingdom feel their beloved princess had been torn away from them? So stay with me, because to understand why a whole country turned its anger on the palace, you first have to understand who they had lost. This is the story of Diana Spencer. Let me take you 65 years back in the countryside of Norfolk. Viscount Althorp and his wife Frances are expecting a child. They already have 2 daughters, Sarah Spencer, born in 1955, and Cynthia Spencer, born in 1957. With already 2 daughters, they were hoping for a boy to carry on the family name, the title, and the entire Spencer estate. You see, just 18 months earlier, they had lost a newborn son named John, who died only a few hours after birth. So the pressure on this new pregnancy was enormous. But when the baby is born, it's a girl. The disappointment is so deep that John and Frances hadn't even prepared a girl's name. For an entire week, the baby has no name. Eventually, they call her Diana Frances Spencer. Another thing you need to know is that the Spencer family is an aristocratic bloodline deeply intertwined with British royalty. For centuries, their ancestors had advised kings, commanded armies, and accumulated vast power. Viscount Althorp, Diana's father, had served as a personal attendant to 2 monarchs, so the royal world was never distant to Diana. British aristocracy and the royal family aren't just about glamour and titles. Behind the scenes sits a permanent, ruthless institution widely known as the Firm. Its primary mission is to protect the royal bloodline at all costs and ensure the absolute survival of the crown, generation after generation. Inside this system, personal desires don't matter. Individual lives don't matter. The institution comes first. Diana grows up in Park House, carrying the weight of not being the boy her parents wanted. But after 3 years, in 1964, her family finally has a son, Charles Spencer, the heir. Diana's childhood remains difficult despite the birth of Charles, and her parents' marriage becomes difficult. Her mother eventually walks out, leaving the family for a man named Peter Sean Kidd. The painful separation completely shatters Diana's world. After her mother leaves, young Diana has trouble sleeping and begins struggling with early eating issues. At 15, things only get worse when her father marries Rain, Countess of Dartmouth. Diana and her siblings despise her so deeply that they secretly nickname her Acid Rain, and this marriage really damages Diana's relationship with her father. She is not a strong student. She fails her final school exams twice, but outside of school she's great at music and dance, and everyone who meets her notices the exact same thing. She finds her real comfort in a natural love for children and a deep empathy for anyone who feels left out. Wanting to gain her independence and discover the world, she leaves the heavy atmosphere of her family's estate and moves to London. She moves into an apartment with her friends, and because of her love for children, she starts looking after small children at a kindergarten in Pimlico. In November 1977, Diana is 16. She comes home from boarding school for the holidays. Her father is hosting a shooting party. The house is full of guests, and among them is a 29-year-old man. His name is Charles, the heir to the throne of England. He is the son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, the eldest of their 4 children: Princess Anne, Prince Andrew, and Prince Edward. But he is not there for Diana. He is dating her older sister, Sarah Spencer. When Charles meets 16-year-old Diana, she leaves an impression, and Prince Charles falls for her. A few months later, Sarah sits down for lunch with 2 journalists and talks about the prince on the record, telling them that she isn't in love with him. The story hits the front pages, and just like that, the relationship is over. And few months later, Charles turns his attention to her sister Diana for the royal family. It's a welcome match. Charles is approaching 30 years old, and the royal family needs a queen. In the summer of 1980, the real spark happens. Diana is just 19 years old when she is invited to a country barbecue in Sussex. Sitting together on a bale of hay, she speaks to him about the funeral of his great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten, killed by the IRA. In that moment of shared grief, the future king sees exactly what the institution needs: her empathy. The 6th of February 1981, Windsor Castle. Charles asks her to marry him. She is 19. On the 24th, the engagement is announced, and a reporter asks a question.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Well, it
You can
obviously
put your own
means,
interpretation.
obviously means 2 very happy people.
Yes.
A few days before the wedding, Diana opens a parcel in an office at Buckingham Palace. Inside, a gold bracelet. 2 letters on it, entwined: G and F. Gladys and Fred. Private nicknames Charles uses with another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles. He met her in 1971. By every account, he was in love with her. But she was not what the family needed, and she had a past. Now you need to know something about the family. For the wife of the future king, the prince is advised not to marry a woman who is not of aristocratic blood, because the future princes must all come from a royal bloodline. The 29th of July, 1981, St. Paul's Cathedral. 3,500 guests and 750 million people watching around the world. The Archbishop of Canterbury opens with one line: "Here is the stuff of which fairy tales are made." And on the balcony, Charles kisses her. No royal couple had ever done that in public before. 11 months later, on the 21st of June 1982, Diana gives birth to a boy, William. 2 years later, on the 15th of September 1984, a second boy, Harry, and the media go wild for the new princess, photographed everywhere, the people's princess. To the newspapers, the fairy tale is complete. Diana has the title, the wedding, and 2 sons. Inside the marriage, she is more alone than she was before she walked into the palace. It starts with her body. Her bulimia begins the week the engagement is announced. Charles has put a hand on her waist and told her she is a bit chubby. She is 20 years old, and she is being weighed, measured, and photographed by people who see her as an image to manage. She is surrounded by people she did not choose. Diana calls the senior advisors the men in gray suits. They run the household. They set the diary. They speak to the newspapers. And they decide what the wife of the future king is allowed to do. And the marriage becomes complicated. Prince Charles is not often present during these moments she is going through, and some report seeing him with Camilla Parker, making headline news. And in those same years, Princess Diana gets closer to Barry Manicky, a member of the Royal Guard. In July 1986, Manicky is moved off her detail and transferred to another unit. The reason given is that it has become too close. 10 months later, Barry Manicky is killed on a road in northeast London. He is riding as a passenger on a motorbike, driven by a fellow officer. In 1989, things take a darker turn. Secret recordings of Diana's private, late-night phone calls with her closest friends begin to surface. Inside Kensington Palace, her phone lines are tapped, and her private conversations are taped and leaked to the press, and she believes that nothing she says inside her own home stays private. On the 9th of April 1987, Princess Diana visits the Middlesex Hospital in London to open a new ward for patients with HIV and AIDS, and in these days, shaking a patient's hand can be seen as a risk of infection. The disease is still poorly understood by much of the public. There is no effective treatment, and many people believe they can become infected through a toilet seat, a drinking glass, or simple physical contact. Some patients lose their jobs when their illness becomes known. Others die without relatives beside them because even their families are frightened to touch them. And Princess Diana spends time campaigning against the stigma. She helped lay the cultural groundwork necessary for global health initiatives to succeed. The following year, the World Health Organization holds the first World AIDS Day. She continues campaigning and sits beside patients, listens to them, and holds their hands. And when she speaks publicly, she reminds people that those living with HIV need human contact, not isolation. In 1989, Princess Diana makes a similar point during a visit to people affected by leprosy in Indonesia. Leprosy is another disease surrounded by old fears. Many people still believe that anyone with the disease must never be touched. Diana sits close to the patients and makes physical contact with them while the cameras are present. On the 15th of January 1997, Princess Diana arrives in Angola with the British Red Cross. Angola has lived through years of civil war, and the United Nations estimates that millions of landmines have been left in the ground. A landmine can remain active long after soldiers have gone home. It waits under roads, field, or a path to a village until someone steps on it. And most of the people injured after a war are not soldiers. They are farmers returning to their land, women collecting water, and children walking to school. Princess Diana puts on a visor and a heavy flak jacket, and she walks through a live minefield outside Huambo while a British charity called the Halo Trust is still clearing it. Afterwards, she meets children who have lost arms or legs. She asks governments to support a complete ban on anti-personnel landmines. And all these humanitarian campaigns are not really welcomed by the Crown, which sees her as too free. This time, after her trip to Angola, some members of the British government are openly unhappy. Britain has not yet supported the complete ban Diana is calling for, and Earl Howe, a defense minister, describes her as a loose cannon. And in March 1997, she visits South Africa, a country that spent years under apartheid, and she takes the opportunity to see Nelson Mandela. And speaking of Nelson Mandela, I recommend you go and watch the video I made about him. The link is at the top of your screen. And don't forget to subscribe and to like the video. And in August, she visits Bosnia and meets more families living with the damage caused by mines. And in 1997, her campaign against mines pushes the representatives of more than 100 countries to sign the Ottawa Treaty, which bans the use, production, and transfer of anti-personnel mines. But to the world, she is the people's princess, and she becomes more and more loved by those discovering her. In June 1992, a book appears in British bookshops, and it lands like a bomb. It is called Diana, Her True Story, and it is written by a journalist named Andrew Morton. The book describes Diana's difficult childhood, the bulimia, the loneliness, the moment she tried to take her own life, and the relationship between Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles. And it will later be revealed that Diana is the source of the book, and the book has a direct impact on the royal couple. 6 months later, on the 9th of December 1992, the Prime Minister, John Major, announces the separation of the couple. The Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate.
It reads as follows. It is announced from Buckingham Palace that with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate. Their Royal Highnesses have no plans to divorce, and their constitutional positions are unaffected. This decision has been reached amicably, and they will both continue to participate fully in the upbringing of their children.
In 1994, Charles sits down for a television interview. He admits that he was unfaithful, but he says it happened only after the marriage had become, in his words, irretrievably broken down. Then Diana answers. On the 20th of November 1995, the BBC broadcasts an interview with her on a program called Panorama. It is filmed inside Kensington Palace in secret. Close to 23 million people watch it in Britain, almost half the adult population. She talks about the bulimia. She talks about being watched inside her own home. And when the interviewer asks her about Camilla Parker Bowles, she says,
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
And then she says the thing nobody in that family has ever said in public. She questions whether Charles is suited to be king at all. For the royal family, this interview is the last straw. A few weeks after the interview, the Queen writes to Princess Diana and Prince Charles and asks them to divorce. The divorce is finalized on the 28th of August, 1996. Princess Diana keeps custody of the children, her apartment at Kensington Palace, and the title Princess of Wales. And she receives a settlement of £17 million. But she loses her Royal Highness, and that makes her lose her royal privileges. She loses her state-funded royal security detail. And from this day, her safety is her own to arrange. And in the meantime, the media never leave her alone. She is photographed everywhere. The pressure from the press gets bigger and bigger. And she is seen with a Pakistani doctor, Dr. Hasnat Khan. And that relationship makes the front pages, because the doctor is a Muslim and Diana is a Christian and the mother of the future King of England, who will be the head of the Church of England. Diana does not seem to care. In the summer of 1997, the relationship ends. And that same summer, she is photographed with another man. His name is Dodi Fayed. He is a film producer and the son of Mohammed Al Fayed, an Egyptian billionaire, the owner of Harrods in London and the Ritz Hotel in Paris. Photographs of Diana and Dodi are on the front page of almost every newspaper in the world, and like Hasnat Khan, Dodi Fayed is a Muslim. In July 1997, Diana takes William and Harry to the south of France, invited by Dodi Fayed and his father. And the photographs of the two of them kissing travel around the world, and some newspapers question her judgment. Paris. Saturday, August 30th, 1997. Diana and Dodi Fayed enter the Ritz. Outside, photographers are already waiting, and that brings us right back to where we started. It's 20 past midnight. The rear entrance on Rue Cambon. Nobody in the car puts on a seatbelt. 3 minutes later, the car is in the tunnel. The photographers get there before the fire brigade. Some pull at the doors, some photograph the car. 7 are arrested at the scene, and the police take about 20 rolls of film. Dodi Fayed is dead in the back of the car. Henry Paul is dead at the wheel. In the front seat, the bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, is alive. Xavier Gormelin, the fireman who reaches Diana, does not know who she is. She is lifted out of the car at 1 o'clock. She is in the ambulance at 18 minutes past 1. It leaves at 20 to 2, and it stops on the way because her blood pressure is falling. It reaches the hospital at 6 minutes past 2. The hospital is 4 miles away. The impact had thrown her forward and torn a vein deep in her chest where it enters the heart. From the outside, she did not look badly hurt. Surgeons open her chest and work for 2 hours. At 4 o'clock, Diana, Princess of Wales, is pronounced dead. She is 36. Outside the hospital, a crowd has already formed on the pavement. At the mouth of the tunnel, on the Place de l'Alma, people are leaving flowers on the road while the traffic still runs. Inside, Charles stands with the body of his ex-wife for the last time. The coffin is covered with the royal standard, the flag of the sovereign, and driven out to the airport. He flies home with her that evening to the airbase at Northolt, west of London. And people start walking towards the palaces. They come with flowers, and they keep coming until the flowers outside Kensington Palace are several feet deep, more than 1 million bunches in a week. And they look up at Buckingham Palace, at the flagpole. It is empty. But silence. No official word from the Queen for 5 days. The Queen is at Balmoral, 500 miles away, where she was on holiday with her grandsons when the telephone rang in the night. William is 15. Harry is 12. She keeps them there, and she says nothing. "Where is our queen? Where is her flag?" asks the front page of The Sun. "Show us you care," says the Daily Express. On Friday, the 5th of September, the Queen comes back to London. She stops at the gates and walks among the flowers. Above the palace, a Union flag goes up and is lowered to half-mast. Breaking her silence, she announces a royal funeral. The next day, as billions watch, two boys walk behind their mother's coffin through central London, in front of 1 million people in the street and 2 billion watching. And the other side, Mohammed Al-Fayed buries his son. And will say, Dodi and Diana were murdered on the orders of the royal family, so Charles can get married. The British inquest opens in London and runs for 6 months, one of the longest in the country's legal history. On the 7th of April 2008, the jury gives its verdict. Unlawful killing, grossly negligent driving of the following vehicles and of the Mercedes. 9 jurors agree, 2 do not. 29 years later, a lot of people still do not accept that verdict. So let's go through what is actually on the table and what the investigators found when they checked it. I'll give you both sides. You decide. Start with the car. White paint from a Fiat Uno was on the Mercedes. Fragments of a Fiat Uno taillight were on the ground in the tunnel. That car was never found, and no driver has ever come forward. A French paparazzo, James Anderson, owned a white Fiat Uno. He sold it in the months after the crash and had it resprayed. In May 2000, he was found burnt to death inside his own locked BMW, 400 miles from home, on a military training range. He could only be identified by DNA. Then the pregnancy. Mohammed Al-Fayed said Diana was carrying Dodi's child, that their engagement was going to be announced that Monday, and that the embalming in Paris was ordered to hide it. Now the other side of the table. In 1995, Diana sat down with her lawyer, Lord Mishcon, and told him she believed she would be killed in a car. He wrote it down and kept the note. In October 1996, she wrote it again, by hand, and gave it to her butler. Brake failure and serious head injury. The 30th anniversary is next year, so tell me what you think in the comments. And tell me which subject you want for the next episode. And don't forget to subscribe.